On November 18, 1970, the province of Manitoba granted Manitoba Hydro an interim license to begin the process of regulating water levels on Lakes Winnipeg, Playgreen, and Kiskatagisu. Known today simply as Lake Winnipeg Regulation, this megaproject entailed the excavation of diversion channels and the construction of dams to regulate Lake Winnipeg's outflow into the Nelson River, allowing for Canada's sixth largest lake to be transformed into the world's third largest reservoir, and permitting the Nelson River to be exploited for its power generating potential. Genpeg Generating Station was completed in 1979 and is located 525 kilometers north of Winnipeg, where the west channel of the Nelson River flows into Cross Lake. Its primary purpose is that of a control structure, maintaining outflow from Lake Winnipeg into the Nelson River. It also has the capability of generating 129 megawatts of power. The dredging of 2 Mile Channel was completed in 1976, and in Manitoba Hydro's own words helps to, quote, unplug Lake Winnipeg by providing a secondary outlet for outflow into Playgreen Lake, because the natural outlet, 10 kilometers to the east at Warren Landing, essentially the mouth of the Nelson River, was deemed too unreliable for maintaining flow rates during the winter months. The channel is about 2 miles long, ranges from 600 to 700 feet wide, and is roughly 30 feet deep. 8 Mile Channel, also completed in 1976, allows water to flow uninhibited from Playgreen Lake to Kiskatagisu Lake, which in turn feeds the west channel of the Nelson River. As its name implies, it's 8 miles long, ranges from 700 to 1,200 feet wide, and was dredged to a depth of about 20 feet. Lake Winnipeg Regulation also includes the Ominowin Bypass Channel near the north end of Kiskatagisu Lake and a control dam at the inlet of neighboring Kiskato Lake to protect it from unnatural flooding. The Lake Winnipeg Regulation project became fully operational in 1977 and, all told, increased outflow rates from Lake Winnipeg by as much as 50%, signaling the viability and construction of numerous power-generating projects along the Nelson River. Unfortunately, the promise of seemingly limitless hydroelectric power has come at a tremendous cost to the environment, and those most heavily impacted are the First Nations communities that have traditionally relied on these now severely threatened waterways. Unnatural and fluctuating water levels wreak havoc on shorelines, causing severe erosion, choking the water with silt and leached minerals, and disrupting a natural balance between land, water, wildlife, and people, which had existed since time immemorial. The people of Norway House Cree Nation are particularly hard hit by the effects of 2 Mile Channel on their traditional lifeblood, Playgreen Lake. For generations, the Kinneseo have utilized Playgreen for fishing, hunting, trapping, and gathering medicines. It is of grave concern to the community that their traditional way of life is under threat, and that traditional lands, waters, and wildlife are being negatively affected by nearly 40 years of contamination, erosion, and debris. So, at a time when Manitoba Hydro is requesting approval for a final license to grant it authority over Lake Winnipeg Regulation until at least 2026, Norway House Cree Nation acted in good faith by inviting representatives from the federal and provincial governments and Manitoba Hydro to visit 2 Mile Channel to witness firsthand the undeniable negative effects of Lake Winnipeg Regulation on their traditional lands and waters, in the hopes of shifting the conversation away from talk of license renewals toward a dialogue focused on implementing meaningful remediation, restoration, and accommodation.
Well, we were able to organize a gathering here at 2 Mile Channel, where it allowed us to host the representatives from the 4 parties that have to deal with the Northern Flood Agreement, our Master Implementation Agreement, and the 4-party meeting representatives from the federal government, from the provincial government, from Manitoba Hydro, and of course ourselves from the Norway House Cree Nation. And the reason for that is it's important that people that work with our issues, that deal with our claims, our our concerns so that they can see for themselves firsthand. There are things that you simply can't convey to the point where people understand them the way that you understand them.
The 1977 Northern Flood Agreement and 1997 Master Implementation Agreement were intended to compensate Cree nations such as Norway House for negative environmental and socio-economic impacts resulting from Lake Winnipeg Regulation. Band members, fishers, and trappers alike were to be adequately accommodated for loss of land, land and water navigation issues, and changes to burial grounds, water quality, and drinking water. But despite signing these agreements, new impacts continue to be identified and brought forward, and these negative impacts appear to be escalating.
I grew up fishing, going to the Sandy Islands, going to Warren's Landing. The joy of being out there with the beaches that we used to have. We don't have that anymore. We can't even go down to the lake to drink the water from the lake. We, the commercial fishermen, it's sad to see that we have to take water from here to take to our camps. That is sad.
Even a picture, just looking at a picture sometimes it's hard to fully adequately explain and get the message across. The best way to do that is to actually go to the place itself, the site itself, where something had taken place and see for yourself exactly what the other person was trying to convey to you, right?
You know, when we have our meetings now, like you said before the agreement was signed, before everything was taking place here in the 70s, this thing didn't even exist. We didn't even know what this was going to be our future. Drinking bottled water. You know, I see the despair that everything is causing with this hydro project and everything that the government, they have consulted us through time. The last 100 years they have did consultation. Consultation does not mean consent. Consultation means they're going to come here and give us the information they think is needed for them to go forward. I want everybody to understand that consultation is the process that they come forward with this information to say, oh, we already consulted them and now we can go ahead. Months. It's not consent. I see the outcomes of what Manitoba Hydro has produced, and that's because the balance has been destroyed. Our natural connection with the water, our natural connection with the wildlife. How can you replace that? How can you put a dollar figure on the destruction of who we are as First Nations people of Kinesill-CP? I say there's no price that can ever replace what we're losing and what we have lost already. And as long as I'm standing here and our leadership is here, we're going to continue that battle.
Again, on behalf of Council and myself, thank you for responding to the invitation. We're grateful that you're here. It's much easier for us to show you rather than try to tell you things that we experience out here with all our membership, whether it's the fishermen and our hunters, our trappers, and our gatherers out on these lands. We could have easily just had a boat tour just to bring you out here and just go up and down this channel and point these things out to you, but that clearly wouldn't really nail it home for you in a sense that we really want you to see the things that we talked to you about in the boardrooms. The major concern here is erosion, the erosion of our land, right? They needed to see the erosion at the inlet and also at the outlet, and the way that our land is eroding. The channel itself is getting wider. If nothing is done, if there's no prevention done, that within 50, 100 years there might be nothing here. It's just gonna just float away.
The effects of nearly 40 years of uncontrolled erosion, debris, and sedimentation have devastated the natural habitats of fish, waterfowl, and fur-bearing animals, and impacted heavily on traditional fishing, hunting, and trapping.
When we fish Lake Green Lake, that's where our hardship begins. Because the majority of the time when we put our net in the water, it's full of silt, full of mud, full of sticks. there's no fish. But we continue doing that because that's the way of life for us commercial fishermen. Plain Lake is soon going to die, and we were told by the biologists that that is the case.
Our livelihood and our way of life has been destroyed. There is no question or no doubt about that. The spirit of our rivers and our lakes have been damaged, and they need to be repaired. Has Hydro done that yet? No.
Going back quite a few years when my children were only in their early teens, the smaller one was behind me, riding with me on the skidoo, and the older boy was in the back sleigh, and we were on the other side, and I wanted to go see the other side, see if there's any geese. Not too far from the beacon when it was still over there. All of a sudden, I'm on the ground, and the older boy was right beside us. I'm seeing double, and I see my sons on the ground there, and I asked, first of all, my first thought is, how are they? Make sure they're okay, and they were okay. In the meantime, I'm still seeing double. I was wondering what happened. I didn't even know what happened. And then what happened was the back sleigh, the runner got caught on that loop. There was a cable there. And the thing was, I never even told anybody because I wasn't smart enough to let somebody know back then. That's what happened. It just so happened I wasn't going fast because we were just, looking around. But had we been going at a faster speed, things might have turned out differently for us. Then I learned that one of our elders, who's an elder now, who's a land user, his name is Stanley Mino, same thing happened to him. He too never told anyone, that's what happened. And so when we say, well, this stuff has to be cleaned up, even if we take that out today, in 5-10 years from now, there's going to be other cable. And then somebody's going to come along and hit the cable the same way we did, only because they were told that it was all cleaned up. In the meantime, that's not the truth. So it's better that everything's taken out from under the ground, because at some point in time, it will become exposed. Maybe not in our time, but certainly it's going to happen because there's metal along here. One of our elders here, Jacob Misagan, worked here when they were opening up the channel, when they were dredging. He remembers when you go on the ridge, they would just throw all the metal, the drums, and they would just bury it using the soil, the mud, the clay from the channel. And so no one, I don't think, ever has done a metal detector. So if we walked along the ridge, that metal detector would probably beep all the way. There are things that were not done in the 70s in the area of environmental cleanup, environmental concerns, and so things are now starting to get exposed, like the metals, the debris, the cable that's lying all over the area. We have metal sticking out. We have rods coming out of the sand, and so it becomes a real danger to us as users of this land when we use it for hunting, fishing, trapping. There's the contamination of the water, the barrels that are sticking in the water that are exposed. At one time, they tried to claim that this area was clean. It was cleaned up. After going to the tour today, obviously that's not true. So there's a lot of work that needs to happen here to clean up the mess that was left behind in the 70s. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure how deep that goes in there.
The condition of the land at both 2 and 8 Mile Channel is an ongoing concern to Norway Cree Nation. Discarded and buried construction debris continues to be uncovered at both sites, and soil samples taken in 2004 and 2006 have confirmed the presence of petroleum hydrocarbon contamination.
If you look to your left, there's pipes sticking out of the ground there. I'll go show them where it is. I think we go up now. We go up and then we'll come back down the beach. There's some stuff up here that I gotta show you. where we go from here is hopefully we'll have some conversation, discussions that actually deal with the concerns that we bring forward. We shouldn't have to use too many words to try and convince that what we're saying is true, right? It's here. The dangers are here. The contaminants are most likely still in the soil. We have a high rate of cancer of our membership that's affected with cancer and other illnesses. These things need to be looked at in a serious way. We need complete, total cleanup. In the years to come, obviously it's going to come out of the ground. 40 years later, we're seeing things we didn't see 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And so it's just going to continue. So we need to make sure that it's totally clean.
We hunt there every winter, and we skidoo there every winter. We go there. That's what we do, and we continue to use that area as well. So, but we focused on this side, and hopefully we will do that. And we haven't even talked about 8 Mile. So, but let's just we'll work on one area at a time and see what happens from there.
This license was made in 1970 and it was revised in 1972. That was before the Calder case, before the NFA, before the Constitution Act, before the MIA, before any of that stuff. So the most important thing about this license is what's not in it. It does not say the words Aboriginal and treaty rights anywhere in this license. Section 15 of this license says, the said final license shall be issued subject to the regulations then in force. That means the regulations now in force. The regulations now in force include the Northern Flood Agreement, the Constitution Act of 1982, the Master Implementation Agreement. You should be insisting, the federal government should be insisting that the words on this be changed, not that they be unchanged, not that they be left exactly as they were written in 1972 before anybody knew about Aboriginal rights. They should be changed to reflect the new reality that Aboriginal and treaty rights are constitutionally recognized. That should be put in the final license, and you should not accept any final license that doesn't have those words.
And no, we do not support a final license of Lake Winnipeg Regulations to Manitoba Hydro, not until they meet their responsibilities here, because they have it. My question is, where does accommodation fit in here?
I'm more optimistic now than I was before the tour. I believe we will get a better working relationship with the other parties, because it's pretty hard to deny what you saw.
The Manitoba Clean Environment Commission is currently conducting a review regarding the licensing of Lake Winnipeg Regulation under the Water Power Act. Norway House Cree Nation presented its concerns and recommendations at a public hearing held on May 1st. A final report is expected within 90 days of the conclusion of the public hearings process. To learn more about Lake Winnipeg Regulation and all other Norway House Cree Nation consultation projects, please visit nhcnconsultation.ca.